The master pronounced Kung the Chong a disciple to be a marriageable person. For although lying bound in criminal fetters, he had committed no crime, and he gave him his own daughter to wife. Of non-young a disciple he observed, that in a state where the government was well conducted, he would not be passed over in its appointments, and in one where the government was ill conducted, he would evade punishment and disgrace. And he caused his elder brother's daughter to be given in marriage to him. Of Zi Chen, a disciple, he remarked, "A superior man indeed is the like of him. But had there been none of superior quality in Lu, how should this man have attained to this excellence?" Zi Kung asked, "What of me, then, you?" Replied the master, "You are a receptacle." "Of what sort?" said he. "One for high and sacred use," was the answer. Footnote 1. A free rendering of the Chinese term, yulin, the name of a grain holder, made of coral or ornamented with gems, and used at the royal sacrifices. Compare this answer of the master with Book 2, verse 12. It is complimentary, but does not allow this disciple to consider himself to be perfect. Video editors note, this term originally used to be the name of a sacrificial vessel, later used to describe a man with capabilities and able to shoulder responsibilities. Someone having observed of Yen Yang that he was good-natured towards others, but that he lacked the gift of ready speech, the master said, "What need of that gift? To stand up before men and pour forth a stream of glib words is generally to make yourself obnoxious to them. I know not about his good-naturedness, but at any rate what need of that gift?" When the master proposed that Zi Tiao Kai should enter the government service, the latter replied, "I can scarcely credit it." The master was gratified. "Good principles are making no progress," once exclaimed the master. "If I were to take a raft and drift about on the sea, would Zilu, I wonder, be my follower there?" That disciple was delighted at hearing the suggestion. Whereupon the master continued, "He surpasses me in his love of deeds of daring, but he does not in the least grasp the pith of my remark." In reply to a question put to him by Meng Wu respecting Zilu, as to whether he might be called good-natured towards others, the master said, "I cannot tell." But on the question being put again, he answered, "Well, in an important state he might be entrusted with the management of the military levies, but I cannot answer for his good nature." "What say you then of Yenyu?" As for Yen, he replied, "In a city of 1,000 families, or in a secondary fief, he might be charged with the governorship, but I cannot answer for his good-naturedness." "Take Zihua, then, what of him Zihua?" said he, "with a cincture girt upon him, standing as attendant at court, might be charged with the addressing of visitors and guests. But as to his good-naturedness, I cannot answer." Footnote 1. Lit. A state of 1,000 war chariots. Footnote 2. Lit. A state of 100 war chariots. Addressing Zi Kung, the master said, "Which of the two is ahead of the other? Yourself or Hui?" "How shall I dare," he replied, "even to look at Hui? Only let him hear one particular, and from that he knows 10. Whereas I, if I hear one, may from it know 2. You are not a match for him, I grant you," said the master. "You are not his match." "Sai Yu, a disciple, used to sleep in the daytime. Said the master, "One may hardly carve rotten wood, or use a trowel to the wall of a manure yard. In his case, what is the use of reprimand? My attitude towards a man in my first dealings with him," he added, "was to listen to his professions and to trust to his conduct. My attitude now is to listen to his professions and to watch his conduct. My experience with Yu has led to this change. I have never seen, said the master, a man of inflexible firmness. Someone thereupon mentioned Shin Chong, a disciple. Chong, said he, is wanton. Where do you get at his inflexibleness? Zikung made the remark, that which I do not wish others to put upon me, I also wish not to put upon others. Nay, said the master, you have not got so far as that. Footnote 1. Here is an approach, on the negative side, to the Golden Rule. See also Book 12 verse 2, for a similar approach to it made by Confucius himself. Also Book 15, verse 23. In view of the frequent quotation of these passages, I have deemed it important to be exact about the verbs. Here the word ka is used to add to, as a burden. In the other passages it is she, to spread out, to display, to set before. The same disciple once remarked, there may be access so as to hear the master's literary discourses, but when he is treating of human nature and the way of heaven, there may not be such success. Footnote 1. Certain deeper subjects were only for those who had ears to hear. Zilu, after once hearing him upon some subject, and feeling himself as yet incompetent to carry into practice what he had heard, used to be apprehensive only lest he should hear the subject revived. Zikung asked how it was that Kung Wan had come to be so styled Wan the Talented. The master's answer was, because, though a man of an active nature, he was yet fond of study, and he was not ashamed to stoop to put questions to his inferiors. Footnote. A former high official of the state of Wei, his name had been Kung Yu. The posthumous title of Wan the Talented or Accomplished had been conferred upon him. But there was evidently room for doubt as to whether his whole character deserved it. Respecting Zichan, the master said that he had four of the essential qualities of the superior man. In his own private walk, he was humble-minded. In serving his superiors, he was deferential. In his looking after the material welfare of the people, he was generously kind. And in his exaction of public service from the latter, he was just. Footnote 3. A great statesman of Confucius's time. Speaking of Yenping, he said, he was one who was happy in his mode of attaching men to him. However long the intercourse, he was always deferential to them. Footnote 1. Another great officer of the same period. Referring to Zhong Wan, he asked, what is to be said of this man's discernment? This man with his tortoise house, with the pillar heads and posts bedizened with scenes of hill and mere. Footnote 1. A great statesman of Lu, given to superstition. Footnote 2. Properly watergrass, and altogether more strictly, his pillar heads representing hills, and the king posts of the roof watergrass. Zichong put a question relative to the chief minister of Su, Ziwan. He said, 3 times he became chief minister, and on none of these occasions did he betray any sign of exultation. 3 times his ministry came to an end, and he showed no sign of chagrin. He used without fail to inform the new minister as to the old mode of administration. What say you of him? That he was a loyal man, said the master. But was he a man of fellow feeling? Said the disciple. Of that I am not sure, he answered. How am I to get at that? The disciple went on to say, after the assassination of the Prince of Sea by the officer Sui, the latter's fellow official Chinwan, who had half a score teams of horses, gave up all and turned his back upon him. On coming to another state, he observed There are here characters somewhat like that of our minister Sui, and he turned his back upon them. Proceeding to a certain other state, he had occasion to make the same remark, and left. What say you of him? That he was a pure-minded man, answered the master. But was he a man of fellow feeling? Urged the disciple. Of that I am not sure, he replied. How am I to get at that? He was one who thought 3 times over a thing before he acted. The master, hearing this of him, observed, 2 would have been enough. Footnote 1. An officer of Lu. Of Ning Wu, the master said that when matters went well in the state, he used to have his wits about him. But when they went wrong, he lost them. His intelligence might be equaled, but not his witlessness. Footnote 2. An officer of Wei, a century before the sage's time. Once, when the master lived in the state of Qin, he exclaimed, "Let me get home again. Let me get home. My school children are wild and impetuous. Though they are somewhat accomplished and perfect in one sense in their attainments, yet they know not how to make nice discriminations." Footnote 1. A familiar way of speaking of his disciples in their hearing. Of Pei Yi and Shi Shi he said, by the fact of their not remembering old grievances, they gradually did away with resentment. Footnote 2. A celebrated pair of brothers, princes, who lived in the latter part of the 12th century BC, as we shall meet with their names 2 or 3 times more. Some account of them may be given there. Their father was feudal prince of a small state during the reign of the last king of the Yin dynasty, and he desired to make the younger of them his successor. But nothing could induce the younger brother to supplant the elder, and he fled the country on his father's death. The elder in turn declined the heirship and also retired, leaving the throne to a 3rd brother. They emerged from their retreat in their old age to find a change in the dynasty, and refusing allegiance to the house of Chao, they retired again to a mountain district, lived as they could on wild fruits, and finally died of starvation. Their faithfulness to each other and their steadfast adherence to what they considered a duty is praised both by Confucius and Mencius. Of Wei Shangkao he said, "Who calls him straightforward?" A person once begged some vinegar of him, and he begged it from a neighbor and then presented him with it. Footnote 1. A man of Lu, well known for his straightforwardness and honesty. Fine speech, said he, and studied mien, and superfluous show of deference. Of such things so Qiu Ming was ashamed. I too am ashamed of such things. Also of hiding resentment felt towards an opponent, and treating him as a friend. Of this kind of thing he was ashamed, and so too am I. Footnote 2. Some celebrity of older times. Editor's note. Zhuo Quming was a Chinese historian who was a contemporary of Confucius. He lived in the state of Lu during the spring and autumn period. He was a historian, literator, thinker, and essayist who worked as a Lu official. Wikipedia. Attended once by the 2 disciples Yan Yuan and Zilu, he said, "Come now, why not tell me, each of you, what in your hearts you are really after?" "I should like," said Zilu, "for myself and my friends and associates, carriages and horses, and to be clad in light furs. Nor would I mind much if they should become the worse for wear. And I should like," said Yan Yuan, "to live without boasting of my abilities, and without display of meritorious deeds." Zilu then said, "I should like, sir, to hear what your heart is set upon." The master replied, "It is this, in regard to old people, to give them quiet and comfort. In regard to friends and associates, to be faithful to them. In regard to the young, to treat them with fostering affection and kindness. Footnote 3, alias hui, footnote 4. This may seem childish, but it is evidently a circumlocution, for I would like, for my friends and self, some high official grade, and would use my dignity, if necessary, with economy. Compare with the following notes in Shiking. On one occasion the master exclaimed, "Ah, 'tis hopeless. I have not yet seen the man who can see his errors, so as inwardly to accuse himself." Footnote 1, or all is over. In a small cluster of houses there may well be, said he, some whose integrity and sincerity may compare with mine, but I yield to none in point of love of learning. Footnote 2, lit. In a group of 10 families.